Well, here it is. We're going to start a new build. We've been wanting to do this one for a while. We just finally got to the point to where we can get it going. We've been all this week, the dump's been open, so we've been able to social distance ourselves to the garage and around the house, cleaning up stuff, throwing it away. And we finally got enough room to where we can pull this thing in here and get started on the old Sonoma. If you look over here, we got the 91 GMC Sonoma that was given to us, and before Luca wrecked it, it didn't even have a dent in it. It was pretty weather torn, you know, paint faded, as you can see. It's an Arizona and Nevada truck, so all the rubber in the windows and everything's all rotted out. The windows busted, well, not busted but cracked. I busted the back window out loading up a four-wheeler one day, and then we took it out to Possum Creek and got the mud in the axles. It ruined one of the axles, so we ended up taking plasma cutter and cutting the axles and just pulling them out. So it's been two-wheel drive for a long time. And but if you come over here, you can see the damage that Luca done. Fender, door. I don't know how he got ended up into the bed, but he messed the bed up too, and he pulled the mirror almost off. So the whole right side, passenger side, is going to have to be fixed as we work on it. But our goal is to pull out the rear end. I'm going to put a Ford 8.8 in the rear, and a Jeep axle Dana 30 in the front. So it's getting a solid axle swap. So that's going to be, and then once we get it up and running, it's going to be like my Blazer. It's going to be like a drive-in restoration. We already got a new fender for it, so when we pull the fender off and replace it, the hood will come down just a little bit. We've got two hoods, the one that's on my Blazer, and then we got the cowl induction hood. I'm thinking this one with the tires and the lift that we're going to incorporate into the build as we build it. I think this one will look good with the cowl induction hood. But we're going to be pushing on this one hard, because once this one goes in the garage, and you guys know once the rear axle comes out, it's gonna be, we won't be able to move it. And so we want to be able to work on it fast and quick, and hopefully we have all the parts gathered up. There's a couple more little pieces I got to order, but it shouldn't keep us from getting the rear axle in and getting the front end tore apart. And hopefully we'll be able to knock it out. Now this one, we're already talking about doing a V8 swap on this one too. After we get it up and running and going, we're going to use all the factory mounts on the Dana 30. So if we ever find us a Dana 44, it'll be just swap it out. Hopefully it's that easy. But that's our goal with this one. We're going to get the bed off, get the rear axle out, start torching out the front end, and hopefully get it back on the ground within a week. That's our goal. Oh, and it's going to be coil spring up front. I'm thinking I'm going to do the 3-link up front. We're going to make our own radius arms, I guess you would call them, for the front. It's going to have the track bar in the front and coil springs. I think I got 4 6-inch lift springs off of the Wrangler Rubicon is what I ordered. So we'll get out of here. We're going to upload this video as a teaser, and then hopefully you guys will start watching it, or like and share and subscribe, and get into this build, because this build is going to be the one that we spend a lot of time on, and making this truck into something that it's worthy of it. You know, even though we got it for free, the truck runs like a dream. It was well maintained. That's it. We'll catch you in the flip side. Okay, can you see me? As you can tell, we got the bed off. We're about to put it on jack stands and rip this rear end out. There's the bed and the axle out. We got to pull the 8.8 out of the corner over here, and I got to flip it up, clean it off, and I got to weld up a hole when we cut all the brackets off with the plasma cutter. Actually cut through the tube, and I thought I'd welded all the holes up, but it's laying over there leaking all over the place. So that's going to be a challenge, getting all the oil cleaned off so I can weld it. But we're hoping to have it in there today, U-bolts. And then we'll pull the jack stands out and set the rear end on the jack stands. Because we're going to have to set the pinion angle and all that. And then weld in the spring perch, because we're putting the axle under the spring. That's how we're going to create our lift in this project as we turn it. We're going to gain about 4 inches of lift just by putting the axle under it. So give us a few minutes to get caught up, cleaned up, and then we'll be right back. All right, I don't know if you can see it, but we got the 8.8 set over there. The battery's died on the camera, so we had to weld up a crack for when I took the plasma cutter and cut all the brackets off. I ended up cutting through the tube, and I thought I'd welded them all up, but it sat in the corner and leaked, so at least they showed us where it's at. We got it all ground down so we can slide it in there, put the spring perches on it, and then put the U-bolts on it, try to center it within the axle, or maybe get it spot welded, but we need weight for the truck to set the pinion angle. So I don't know if we'll get to the point where we weld it in, but that's what we're about ready to do. We ordered these. I'm not sure where I got them from. Luca, grab the box. Grab the box. Grab the box. Rough Stuff is where we got them. I don't know if these came from Rough Stuff, but when I laser etched them, they left these little things on there, I guess for welding gap, but it won't fit around the axle. So I had to grind these off so they would fit, and then it still leaves this much gap in there for welding. So they did come from Rough Stuff, but I ordered them for 8.8, but they don't fit over the 8.8 axle tube because of these little notches or whatever you want to call them. So that's what I'm doing right now, is grinding those off so they'll fit. Another thing I like about them is they got the 3 holes, so we can slide the axle forward or back to get our wheelbase if it doesn't center up in the fender wells after we're done. Alright, we're having a lot of camera difficulties today. We actually got it in there and centered. We had to take the center hole on the spring perch and drill it out because it wouldn't fit up around or over the nut on the leaf springs. So we drilled out the center hole. Now we're getting ready to put the U-bolts in just to clamp it. And then we're going to try to see if we can determine the lift on it. Look at this thing's going to be tall. It's going to be tall. All right. Alright, welcome to day 2 of the 8.8 swapping the 91 Sonoma. We've got it temp installed with our U-bolts. Because like I said, we still got to get the front end level with get the frame level so I can measure the pinion angle on the transmission and set the pinion angle on the rear end so it's still loose and we can still twist it and we can still move it side to side. We ain't even tack welded it in. But we are going to go to the parts store and get the U-joint, new rear brake line, and an adapter to make this Ford line work with the Chevrolet. And then we are hoping that we'll be able to drive it today. That is our goal today, is to get it back on the ground and get it running. But as you can tell, we measured the center of that wheel, because that's what it was before we started, and we placed the center of the axle at the height of the center of that wheel. And if you step back here with the camera, you can see how much lift we're getting out of it just for doing the spring over axle, because the rear end used to sag because the front's got the torsion bars cranked all the way up. So I'd say we're a good 4 inches just in axle swap lift. And so when we cut the front end and do the front end setup, we're just gonna make the front end match the rear. And these are 29-inch tires, I think, that are on it, roughly. And our goal is 35s or 37s. So we're looking at about another 3 inches taller when it's all said and done. And this is going to be the stock rear springs. There's no lift in the rear other than the axle swap. So we're going to jump out of here, head to the parts store and get the U-joint, the brake line, and the brake line adapter. And probably pick up some cable clamps, and hopefully we can get the emergency brake back in it today as well. If not, we're not really worried about that. We're just trying to get it to where we can roll it in and out and hopefully get the rear end welded in. See you in a little bit. All right, we're back out here again. We had to go to the parts store. We had to get a brake line, which turned out to be the wrong one. We got our Chevrolet to Ford adapter U-joint we're getting ready to put in. And we got the brake line adapter once we get the right brake line. Luckily, we have another rear end outside. We're going to take the brake line off of that and use it temporarily because we have discovered that the stock one is too short. So we're going to have to custom order a brake line. But right now, we got to pop out the U-joint, the old U-joint, swap in the new one. So we're going to get the heat on this one and start popping it out. All right, I guess this is good about having junk shit laying around. Get this. This is the piece we need. The one we bought, it comes down to here, then it splits off to 2 metal lines. This one's all made together. As far as the parts store, when we looked it up in the catalog, it just said left and right.
So I guess the left one is all one piece. So we'll have to, well, we can't go back to the parts store and get it because it's too short. It's not going to fit the truck.
Alright, well there you go. Successfully got an 8.8 in the rear in 2 days. And I just drove it out of the garage. You can tell how much lift it gave the truck in the rear with those little tires on it, our roll arounds, and how small those are compared to the front, and how much the spring over gave us for the lift. Now when we get, this is it's not fully done. I'm not liking the diff angle or the pinion angle after I put it down and drove it out. Probably have to cut the welds on the spring purchase because I just got them tacked in. But I need to correct that pinion angle a little bit more, bring it up probably about 2 degrees. But over here is our brake line adapter. This is how short the brake line is. We got this one here is the one we got to order, the longer one. And all in all, I'm impressed. It was super easy. I mismeasured the U-bolts and got ones that are way too long, but that's fine. We'll just cut the tops off once we get it finished. But what we're going to do now is call this our first video. We're going to go in and clean the garage, put the truck back in, and hopefully we'll get on to ripping the front end out of this thing. So, like always, like, subscribe, and share our videos. And this is the build y'all want to watch. It's going to get a day and a 30 up front. Thank you. Peace out.